Votes were still being counted. When the crowds reached a critical mass, violence broke out. This in a country where for 30 years people have tended to keep their heads down rather than take on the forces of the state.
Nothing has been seen on the streets of Tehran like this since the revolution, right back in 1979. This shows the real intensity of feeling. These people feel that their election is being stolen from them, and they're showing it in a way that Iranians are not used to doing. This government wants us to say what we want. We want freedom! We want freedom! We want freedom!
At least 4 police motorbikes were burning in the middle of the street. The crowd had chased the riders off and beaten them. And when a secret policeman tried to stop us filming, the crowd turned on him and chased him away.
The talk on Twitter right now in Iran is that the government has brought in Hezbollah militiamen from Lebanon, who are Shiite, who are Arab, and who have no compunctions about killing Persians. Unsubstantiated, but it's on a lot of Twitter feeds, and there's every reason to believe it's true.
The country's religious leadership has called on people to respect the result of the election. But the man the crowd believed had really won, Mir Hossein Mousavi, insisted that he wouldn't surrender to what he called this dangerous charade. Everything now depends on how the government responds to the violence in the streets. Government's instinct will be to crack down hard, but if anyone is killed, that could create a cycle of violence which might be really dangerous. Tonight we're hearing reports of trouble in big cities across the country. Rasht in the north, Mashhad in the east, Shiraz in the south. This is a dangerous moment for the Islamic Republic. John Simpson, BBC News, Tehran.
Some of the alleged Hezbollah militiamen that are brought in. They're on little dirt bikes. Sometimes they've got an extra guy on the back so he can swing the baton, and the other guy can drive.
مشاهده میکنید که این تصاویر از درگیری‌ها در تهران هستش. منابع خبری از بروز درگیری در یکی از میدان‌های شمال شهر تهران بین پلیس و همینطور حامیان میرحسین موسوی خبر دادند کسانی که
One thing that Ahmadinejad has done is hired, the unemployment rate's maybe 25%, we don't actually know what it is, but it's enormous. Hired tens of thousands of young unemployed men and put them into these militias called Basiges. And not unlike the brown shirts in Germany or the black shirts in Italy, 1920s and 30s, they're thugs. And they're being unleashed on the demonstrators.
How many people are in each militia? How many people are in each militia?
Well, I imagine it's probably a neighborhood-based, locally based type of thing. But you have so many people out of work, just as you had so many people out of work in post-war Italy and Germany, angry young men give them a job and say, hey, you know what your job is? Knock some heads together. People are pissed. Really, really, really pissed off. And no one's heard from What? Oh, yeah, tear gas. Yes. Supposedly right about now, or a few hours ago, there was supposed to be this big rally with Musavi there. No one has seen him since Friday. He was allegedly under house arrest. Nobody really knows what's going on in the country because foreign journalists have basically been kicked out, arrested, detained, their camera equipment's been taken. There's no text messaging in the country. Cell phone service is still basically down. Twitter is about the only game in town right now that is getting any type of news out from Iran. Twitter and YouTube. All these things you're seeing right here have obviously been uploaded in the last 24, 48 hours.
Is this something going on in cities?
This is probably mainly happening in the cities because if you're in the countryside, you don't know what else going on. State-run television told you Ahmadinejad won. Now a return to regularly scheduled programming. You're not turning on Iranian nightly news and seeing this if you live out in the countryside. That's a bus on fire. Apparently burning things dissipates tear gas.
It does what?
Dissipates tear gas, so you can like burn a tire or burn a dumpster, or let's say you burn a bus. It's supposed to dissipate the tear gas. Now I said earlier that you could hear Marga Dictator and Allahu Akbar at night on the rooftops, and I finally found a clip for it. Marga Dictator, death to the dictator. That guy's kind of loud. He's right next to the camera, apparently. Don't yell in the camera, please. Yeah, question.
What's is Mahmoud saying anything about this?
He came out and said he won, and that's about it. He's really kept his head down too. This seems to have been planned ahead of time. There are unconfirmed reports from the Ministry of Interior that a lot of people were replaced in the weeks leading up to the election. Employees were brought from other parts of the country to work in the main election sorting center in Tehran. That there was a computer program set up to allocate the votes across the country in such a way that it didn't look rigged. The fact of the matter is they didn't count the votes. There's 40 million votes on paper ballots that they allegedly had finished counting basically the day of the election, the afternoon of the election, and the polls had to be open for 6 extra hours because the turnout was so high. It's impossible. It's absolutely impossible. Think of how long it took us to count our ballots, and half of ours are on computer. Now, granted, we had 120 million votes versus 40 million, but still, you're not going to count 40 million paper ballots like that. Absolutely, utterly impossible. But that's allegedly what happened.